Hey, I'm Colin, and in this video, we're going to cover how to install one of the most versatile and eco-friendly paving stone systems out there called Turfstone. So if you're wondering why Turfstone is eco-friendly and versatile, a lot of it has to do with the design of the material and the system that it's supported by. The material itself, as you can see here, here's one block. It's a 16-inch by 24-inch honeycomb-shaped paver. It's also 100 millimeters thick, so it's super strong. These cells that it has here inside this honeycomb are designed to be filled with a soil and planted with grass seed or maybe a weed or a shrub if you choose to. Sometimes they're also filled with gravel. But when you have that grass in there, that basically hides the Turfstone in your system. And when it's supported by a permeable base construction, it allows for a lot of infiltration. So if it's in a low spot in your yard or project, or maybe there's a lot of rainwater there, it will rid of that rainwater, keep grass growing so it blends in with your grass, and also provide structure and rigidity if you choose to drive some sort of vehicle over that. Now it is 4 inches thick, so you might think it's rather expensive. It's really not per square foot because it's an open cell design. There's not a lot of material coverage there. It's also only offered in pewter, so there's no color added to add an extra charge for that as well. Now, when it comes to laying out a Turfstone project, it's just like laying out any other project. For our particular walkway, there's some existing stones here that we're using the walkway. It's about 3 feet wide. We want to extend it and go 4 feet wide. We'll be taking our tape measure and using this nice center seam as a rough reference for our walkway. Since we're doing 4 feet overall, we need to make sure we have an extra 6 inches for edge restraint. So from the center seam here, we're going to be marking out with paint about 30 inches away, giving us 2.5 feet on each side. Again, 5 feet overall. On top of that, we always make sure we use white marking paint because it's the color of excavation. Any other color is utility. You'll want to make sure you have a utility locate done before you do any excavation, which would be the next step in the process. Now the depth of excavation will vary from project to project, but since we have a Turfstone project and we have an open graded base system underneath it, there is a fairly deep depth of excavation. We're going to be having 8 inches of gravel, 1 inch of bedding material, and our 4-inch Turfstone, which overall equals out to be about 13 inches from the top of our finished grade. Now luckily our project is super flat and consistent with just a nice gradual slope, so we'll be digging it out by eye. Won't need a string line or a laser because it's fairly flat. When we bring in our gravel base later on, we will put up a string line to make sure everything comes up flat as we bring it up to grade. Now with our area excavated, we can start bringing in our gravel base. This is a permeable base construction, so we'll be using nothing but gravel that is crushed and free of fines or any minus so that it is free draining. Before we start bringing in that gravel, we're gonna make sure we lay down a layer of geotextile fabric. This specifically is a non-woven filter fabric, so that water can still be permeable through this fabric, but it still creates a barrier between the dirt from migrating up into our gravel and having weak spots or settling later on. After we lay down our fabric, we can bring in 4 inches of 1-inch crushed open quarry rock. And then once we compact it, we can put a layer down of this biaxial geogrid, which helps create more interlock and more strength in your system for vehicular traffic. If you don't have vehicular traffic, this is not as necessary, but we like to put it down as a preventative method. After the grid is down in place, we can put in 4 final inches of the 1-inch crushed quarry rock to get up to our final height to prepare for our bedding material. So now that our base is prepared, we're gonna move on to the next step, which is laying our bedding material. The type of bedding material we're using is called 1/4 10 or maybe 1/4 inch chip rock. Either way, it is a 1/4 inch outside diameter crushed or fractured rock that has no fines, so it's completely free draining to contribute to our permeable system. We're using 1 inch outside diameter metal square tubing, but anything 1 inch in outside diameter will work to achieve a perfect 1 modular inch of this material. We're using a standing screed from Pave Tool Innovators, which is handy to have around if you're in that type of thing, but a good screed board for tile or flat 2x4 if you have access to it will surely get the job done. So with our bedding material screeded out, we can start laying our turf stone. One of the nice things about turf stone that we manufacture is that it only comes in one shape and size. It's about 16 by 24 inches and it's a rectangle. That being said, there's only a few pattern options available. If you're doing a pedestrian traffic area with this turf stone, you are totally fine to just do a stack bond pattern, which is corner to corner, whether it's lengthwise or widthwise, depending on the size of your space. For our particular project, we're doing a walkway that will foresee vehicular traffic. So we're doing a perpendicular running bond, following this string line here as a guide to maintain straight. And we're doing a 1/3 offset with that running bond. The reason why we're doing a 1/3 as opposed to 1/2, which is typically stronger, is because when you cut a 1/2 offset with this turf stone, the cells don't quite line up right. So you will have more grass growth and will look a little bit more seamless if you do a 1/3 offset, and it's stronger for vehicular traffic. So we have completed laying our walkway and we made our cuts. Now we can talk about edge restraint. Now, typically if you're doing turf stone for a pedestrian application, edge restraint isn't as necessary because they're such thick and heavy stones. If you just tamp some soil up against them to retain them, you most likely won't see any shifting or movement over time. But since our product has vehicular traffic, we are going to be putting some perma paver edging down, which is a flexible, modified concrete edge restraint. After we remove our bedding material, we'll be troweling out about 2 inches thick of this material, coming up 1/3 from the bottom of our turf stone to just have one extra preventative measure from shifting due to vehicular traffic that we will see on this walkway. So now that we've finished our edge restraint, we can go ahead and compact our turf stone. You could do this a variety of ways. We're gonna be using a compactor with a roller attachment on to avoid breakage. But if you don't have access to one of those, as they're uncommon, you can definitely use a 150-pound steel plate compactor and compact our 100mm turf stone with little to no breakage. If you don't have access to either of those types of compactors, you can definitely use a rubber mallet just to help settle these turf stone into your bedding material. The nice part about turf stone is you don't have to compact them with the fill material unless you're using a gravel or sand. We're using a dirt, so we won't have to compact them more than this one time. Now we compact our turf stone, make sure everything was nice and settled and nice and flat. So now we're gonna start filling it with our dirt. We're just using a sandy loam topsoil to fill the cells, and you're not gonna compact your turf stone again to help compact this material. All you have to do is wash, settle it. After you wash settle, just putting a lot of pressure with the garden hose, make sure all that dirt's gonna go into the cracks of the bedding material to make sure it's as low as possible and it doesn't settle a year later. Once that's nice and flat with the top of your turf stone, you can take some grass seed, throw it on the top, and grow some grass. Now in the right weather or watering conditions, you'll have grass within your Turfstone in a couple of months. So now you're left with a great functional, eco-friendly walkway that allows for superior drainage in which you can still keep your grass. Now normally paving stones are low maintenance, but with Turfstone and you want to keep that grass, you'll still have to mow your lawn, but at least it won't be a muddy mess while you do it in the winter time. Just make sure if you have any other hardscape projects coming up, you check out the blogs on our website or the other videos on our YouTube channel, because surely we'll have another project that will help you out.